Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I had a line.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Dances with Wolves, which came out in 1990, directed by Kevin Costner. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis for Dances with Wolves?
Well, the story follows Kevin Costner's character, Lieutenant John Dunbar. He's a war hero who has just been gifted a post out on the far frontier in North America. After finding the post abandoned, Dunbar starts to make relations with the local Indians and realizes that the propaganda that has been sold to him may be very far from the truth.
I'm just going to say it right at the start of this review that this film is very special to me.
Yeah.
And I know it means a hell of a lot to quite a few of our viewers as well.
Yes.
This, for me, is the first great epic that, as a film, that I fell in love with at a young age without even really comprehending much about what was going on in the film.
Yes.
At the age that I watched this film, which would have been about 10,
Yeah.
for the most part, this film would have bored me to tears. But even at that age, I was enthralled with this film, mesmerised by it. I was put under its spell and have had an affinity for wolves and Native Americans ever since seeing this film. And I don't ever watch this film normally. I strictly reserve this film for when I'm very, very ill and bedridden.
Yeah.
That is when I will watch Dances with Wolves, because for at least 3 hours I will have forgotten how ill I am.
Yeah.
Good friends of mine, when they have fallen sick and ill and they are bedridden, I will go out and buy them a copy of Dances with Wolves. And I've done so over the years since, because I treasure and love this film so damn much.
See, when you say Dances with Wolves, the first word that pops in my head is epic.
Yeah.
Like you, my mum actually bought this on VHS when I was younger. And, you know, I'd seen that it was all over the papers. It won Oscars. It was this massive, huge, long movie, you know, talking about all the issues between the Americans and the Indians about that time. And like you, I didn't get any of that. You know, I was just like, I need a film to watch. Oh, look, this has got that guy from Field of Dreams in. I'm going to watch it. And when I was younger, I sat down and I watched it. And it was fucking long.
Yeah.
It was fucking long. And at that time, you know, you're growing up. You're watching your Big Trouble in Little China or your Aliens, you know, or your Psycho or your Friday the 13th. And then you sat down and watching this fucking historical 3-hour movie. And it's lost on you at a certain age. And then when Gary said to me, he said, look, we're going to review Dances with Wolves. I was like, oh, fuck me, you know, can I get through it again? And I've said it once, I'll say it again. Bruce Willis says in 12 Monkeys that whenever you watch the film doesn't change, you do. And he is so fucking right with that, because when I sat down to watch this film and realised it was 4 hours long, because we were watching the extended version, I'm like, I'm really quite excited now.
When I put the film on and I saw the time index was 4 hours, I was like, well, that's broken. I was like, I know this film's only 3 hours, and duh. I didn't even realise the film had a special edition. I was like, a big fan of the film, didn't even know it. But for me, it was like discovering Aliens had a director's cut.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't remember the scene.
Yeah.
Wow, there's more footage. So I was super excited.
Let's just start with one of the biggest things that I was amazed by and only knew this one time round. It's directed and produced by Kevin Costner.
Yes, now there is a whole backstory to the making of Dances with Wolves, where Kevin Costner was ridiculed in Hollywood for making a Western movie, because the Western genre by 1990 was dead and buried.
Well, the Western hero genre, you know, the cowboy walks in, bang, 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 saves everybody and walks out the fucking hero. Yeah, that was dead. This is real fucking life.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Western genre of films really did romanticize the frontier. And from watching most of those films, they all villainized the Native Americans. Dances with Wolves was going to do the opposite. So it was reviving a dead genre. It was going against the grain of making this type of film. And while he was making it, None of the actors could speak the Sioux or the Native American language. The film was also, whilst they were making it, going massively over budget. So Kevin
Yeah, you can see
Costner
that.
sunk his own money
Yes.
into getting the film financed and completed. And obviously the film was a huge success when it came out.
Yes, yeah.
It won the Best Picture Oscar, going up against Goodfellas, Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas.
Wow.
And
Took out the mob.
you know, you can attribute that to the fact that the Oscar ceremony is what it is. And they went, you know, Kevin Costner, first-time director, reviving a dead genre, which Hollywood's always loved anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just, you know, and then obviously all the ridicule that was thrown at him for then this film to come out.
Yeah, but this is the thing, though. I mean, we're talking about the guy from Field of Dreams. We're talking about fucking Robin Hood. We're talking about Superman's dad. As I've gotten older, have really grown to really appreciate Kevin Costner. You know, he was there when I was younger. I watched him in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
World.
Now you say World. I kind of like it. It is stupid. It is over budget, but it's Mad Max on the sea.
It is really stupid, but I take it you can enjoy it because of the villain is Dennis Hopper.
Yeah,
hamming it up throughout the film.
Yeah. But it's like I appreciate his acting. Like I only recently watched The Guardian with Kevin Costner in the lifeguard one. Oh my god, that was an amazing film. I really enjoyed that, you know. And it's the fact that I was sat watching Dances with Wolves, and I was asking myself, are the roles written for Kevin Costner, or does Kevin Costner make the roles him? You know, like we don't give a shit about Russell Crowe as fucking Robin Hood. No. But Kevin Costner is Robin Hood. Oh hell yeah!
That's Robin of Locksley.
That's Robin of fucking Locksley. And it was the same with this film. That, you know, whenever anybody says Dances with Wolves, immediately Kevin Costner appears in my head. I mean, we open with him lying on a surgeon's table, about to get his fucking leg amputated.
Yeah.
You know, he's taking
This is
an
the
injury.
American Civil War.
Yeah, and you know, love the gore effects immediately. You know, this film was like, here's blood, and I'm like, okay, that's a good start. You know, you're not trying to hide it from the viewers, and he forces his boot back on, and he gets onto that horse, and he rides the enemy's line, and he's wanting to die there. If
Yes.
he's going to lose his leg, he wants to die in battle. And he saves the fucking day. And part of me is just
Accidentally.
accidentally. But he wanted to die. And so it's another reason why I kind of feel why he wants to go off to the frontier. He wants to be alone. He wants the solitude. You know, how long has he been in the army? We don't know. How many battles and friends has he seen killed? We don't know. He is a lost man.
The strangeness of this life cannot be measured. In trying to produce my own death, I was elevated to the status of a living hero. I was also awarded Cisco, the trusty mount that carried me across the field that day, and on full recovery was given transfer to any station I desired.
When he turns up at that outpost to get the authorization from the major to head out to Fort Sedgwick,
Yeah.
you know, he's excited. Because to me, it's like he's excited to get away from everybody. You know, he wants to go out and just see the plains because he's never seen it before it all disappears. And that's the main theme going through the film is everything is changing.
Yeah, you know, this is the time when it's like the trans-intercontinental train.
Yeah,
You know,
they're building the
it's
train
making
lines.
it all the way across from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Yeah, the North and South are still fighting to try and keep slavery or get rid of slavery.
Yeah, and at the same time, the Native Americans are having their territory reduced and reduced and reduced. Now, we'll get into it, but there is a lot of historical inaccuracies with the film, but they are mainly forgivable.
Because of its epic scale, I think.
Yes, yeah.
The film's epic scale is... Well, I was sat there and I was just like, this is the last time you'll ever properly see a film like this, where practical effects...
Oh, yeah.
You know, if somebody turned around to me tomorrow and said, hey, they're remaking Dances with Wolves, at first I would throw up in my mouth, and second, I'd imagine just how much computer-generated imagery they would shove into the film, and how much of a stain it would put on this one.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, after meeting that major, wow, that major was
He was creepy.
He was
And
insane.
he was broken. Yes.
Yeah, well, what the hell has he done that's broken him so hard like that? He sits in an office just drinking away, but you see him, he's writing this letter. Oh, yes, I'm giving this knight the chance to go out. Here you go. See you later. Bang!
To my journey!
The king is dead. Long live the king.
I don't think he actually wrote anything on that
No, he
paper.
didn't. He scribbled like
He just
fuck.
scribbled.
Yeah, he
I don't
scribbled.
even think he scribbled anything. He was just pretending.
Yeah.
You know? And obviously you see... it's a John Dunbar. You see him look at that piece of paper and then look up at the window like there's nothing on here. Like,
That's it.
fucking jeez. But that would come into effect later on when there was actually no record of him.
Well, this is it. I mean, the Major is the only person to know that Dunbar has passed through. He didn't even tell anybody else.
And he has chosen to go to Fort Sedgwick, which has a small band of army rangers there.
Well, it's like the last known outpost,
The furthest
the
reach
furthest
out.
one
Yeah.
out there, which I imagine was like, you know, you find like an abandoned lighthouse on an island in the middle
Yeah.
of nowhere somewhere. This is
Secluded alone.
secluded alone, and this is what he's after. But
In this extended edition, you actually got to see the army personnel
Yeah.
that were there, which I never saw before.
Yeah.
At first I was confused. I was just like, who is this?
that's what I thought, because you just saw this guy just standing out on the hills, and I'm like, is that Kevin Costner? What the fuck's he looking for?
They're waiting for supplies to come to the fort, and then we cut back to Costner, and he's traveling with this guy called Timmons, who's a bit of a repulsive sort of guy.
Yeah, well, that guy lives on his wagon.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, and it cuts back to the camp, or cuts back to the fort, and you see these soldiers are just like, the commander tells them, look, you've waited when we've been attacked, you've
Yeah.
waited when people have deserted, the supplies aren't coming, so we're leaving. And you never actually find out what happens to them.
No,
they just disappear.
They just go, and that's the
Now,
thing.
I do believe there is actually, the first cut of editing this film was 5 hours long.
Wow.
So I imagine their final fate might still be left somewhere on the cutting room floor.
Well, I imagine they probably just got taken out by Indians
I imagine so.
halfway through,
I
because they were
imagine so.
unarmed. But, you know, we're watching Costner as he's making his way to Fort Sedgwick. He's loving the open fields.
So we.
The plains. It's just the whole open world, which at the same time, it's such a start at the beginning of the film. You know, my heart's slowly breaking because I'm like, oh, that's going to be tarmacked. It's all going to be fucking car parks. But then at the same time, I kind of feel good because it's progression. You know, yeah, okay, we want to protect the world.
But it's how we went about it.
Yeah, okay, the Americans were a bit, you know, harsh, but then at the same time, humans have been harsh. And I'm going to get to that. I've got some points about the Indians that I'll fucking bring up later. But we finally get to Costner making his way to Fort Sedgwick, and he tells Timmons that he's staying. You know, get all the supplies off the truck. You know, I'm staying. And Timmons is like, this place is abandoned. There's nobody here. This is fucking Indian country. We should leave. And, you know, he pulls his gun on Timmons and he's just like, get the stuff off the wagon. And we watch Timmons go off. And at this point, you realise Timmons is the only other person who knows that Dunbar is at this post. You know, the army don't even know about anybody being at this post. And when you see Timmons go off, he's killed off.
Yeah,
by
he's killed off
Pawnee
by
Indians.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny because they found a skeleton on the way to Fort Sedgwick who was laid face up at the sun with arrows in him. And it's the same way that Timmons will also go out and be another skeleton on the plains.
See, now I started to... I didn't like Timmons' character at first. You know, he was a bit repulsive. He was disgusting. It's the way he's lying on the ground and he's telling them not to hurt his mules.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
He
He loved his
cared.
horses.
He loved his horses more than he even loved himself. And I was just like, wow, you're elevating that simple character for me just a little bit more.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, hurt my mule. Please don't hurt my mule.
Now we do get quite a long sequence now of just Lieutenant Dunbar in Fort Sedgwick, and he starts to do repairs.
Yeah.
He has a look around. He wants to obviously check the water supply, and he finds that it is filled with animal carcasses.
Yeah.
They were all actual real animal carcasses as well that they'd found from roadkill.
Wow.
And threw them all in there. So he's actually pulling out actual dead animals.
Practical
because
effects again.
They wanted it to look authentic and
Yeah.
real. He also finds out about a cave, which...
Well, the ex-soldiers had they'd abandoned the fort and started living in caves so that
Yeah.
they weren't targets, so that the
Yeah.
fort would look abandoned. And you never know. I'm like, well, were they eating each other in there, or were they just living in there? We don't know. He literally comes to the cave, says he doesn't find anything in there, and seals them all off.
Having ravenous flashbacks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Wait for Robert Carlyle to walk out of the cave.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I kept thinking that halfway through the film.
I am pleased with my efforts thus far. For all my improvements, though, there remains an ugliness here I cannot dispel. An injury that goes beyond neglect, and like a bruise, it will be slow to heal.
I just love the whole Dunbar on his own,
Yeah.
camera on him.
But he has his friend, he has Cisco, his horse.
No, man, don't bring up the horse.
And he also has Two Socks,
Oh, no,
the
not
wolf,
Susan.
who become his best friends. Or he kindles this friendship with the wolf.
I love Two Socks and Cisco.
Cisco, I know, because,
He has those quiet moments, but then when
the Native Americans find him.
first turn up.
And the first one to turn up is Kicking Bird.
Fucking kicking bird.
Who looks like he's about to steal Cisco, the horse. And we see Dunbar run up the hill after shaving and scares him off. And it's only after we realised why he was probably so scared, it was because Dunbar was completely stark naked.
That was awesome. I love that.
It cuts back later to Kicking Bird. And he's like, he scared me off. I was trying to steal his horse. It was definitely a white man. And Ten Bears is like, how do you know it was a man? And he's like, well, I saw his sex. It scared me.
The interaction between the Indians is just absolutely brilliant. With everything that we're seeing with Dunbar being secluded, actually seeing the camps,
Yeah.
and the Indians all working with each other. And I, want to be very clear, there are two tribes in this film. You have the Pawnees, who are all covered in war paint and are led by Wes Studi, fucking the great Wes Studi. And then you have the Sioux, the Sioux Indians, led by Floyd Red Crow Westerman, who plays Chief Ten Bears, and has Kicking Bird in his group. So you can't just imagine that all the Indians are exactly the same. That they're all scavengers and
there were like three distinctly separate tribes that made up the Sioux tribe.
Yeah.
And also the Sioux tribe was, I think in history, a lot more perhaps aggressive than the Pawnee tribe. I think they kind of reversed them in for the film, but it doesn't matter too much.
See, now that's the thing. That's what I wanted to bring up about the Indians was I'd always grown with this film imagining that the Indians were the good guys and the Americans were the bad guys.
The film paints that picture, yeah.
But obviously through experience and Wikipedia and history books, stuff like that, it's the Indians were always attacking each other anyway.
Yes, they were.
So neither of them were good guys or bad guys. We see the Pawnees attacking
They were
people.
territorial. They like to hunt and raid each other's supplies.
Well, that's it. And you see Wes studying his group, and they look aggressive and violent, but with historical details, you realise that they're only pushed to that because their supplies are running low. They've come across illnesses from the Europeans who have come over. The Sioux tribes have been attacking and stealing. The buffaloes are migrating in the wrong directions. Things like that. So the Pawnees were pushed to a point where they had to attack.
Or their tribe was lost forever. Yeah.
For the Sioux, they were doing the exact same thing, but we don't see it as much.
Exactly. The film doesn't paint that picture for you.
That's it. It's like, these guys are the peace-loving guys. And I'm like, well, hold on a minute. They're sending a war party off.
Well, I mean, there's sequences later where the Pawnee attack the Sioux tribes, and it looks like the Pawnee are going after the women and children.
Yeah.
Whereas in history, I think it's pretty much confirmed that women and children were never targeted by any Native Americans in any raids.
Yeah.
And if they were, it was accidental. They have at least that kind of honour.
Collateral damage, I suppose.
Amongst their people.
Yeah.
Kicking Bird is explaining that there's a white man back at this fort, and some children overhear the conversation, and they decide to go and steal Dunbar's horse, Cisco. They fail because Cisco pretty much bucks the kid off and goes running back to Dunbar, which I thought was great. I was like, the horse has come back.
He won't leave Dunbar. Him and Dunbar have just got this relationship.
But the child got injured doing it, and so when the children go back, they have to explain what happened.
Yeah.
And so then the Sioux send a whole group of warriors to go there and steal Cisco. And I love the fact that Dunbar gets himself knocked out. He wakes up in the middle of the night, knocks himself out. But when he wakes up in the morning, Cisco was there waiting for him because it escaped and came back for him again. It's like,
and the Indians are just like, right, there's something, there's something there, because they have herds of horses that they're looking after. And this one horse that they're attempting to rescue keeps going back. So there must be something with this guy. Dunbar as well, he knows, well, he's got all the camp's supplies of food and guns and things like that, so he decides that he's going to hide the guns.
Yeah.
If he's going to be attacked, he doesn't want them to fall into the wrong hands, shall we say. He's still, at this point, the officer.
Yes.
The army is forefront in his mind, and so he's not going to give up this camp, he's not going to give up the supplies. But he also knows that he's a sitting target. So he decides to full regimental honours, get on his horse, and go to the tribe. And as he's going there, he comes across an Indian woman who's mutilating herself while she's singing in the field, played by the amazing Mary McDonnell. And you can immediately tell that she's not Native American colour. She's
a white woman.
She's a white woman, and she's come from, her family were killed off. She escaped out into the plains, and the tribe have found her and have taken her in to take care of her. But her husband, I believe, was killed in another attack.
Yeah.
And so this mutilation is...
It's her grieving process.
Yeah, she's mourning. I didn't know if she was attempting to commit suicide, but Dunbar sees her and wants to help. And at the same time, he's fallen in love with her right at the start. I mean, he's been at this fucking fort for 2 months with no women. God knows how long it's been since he's had a woman before. So the first white woman he comes across, as weird as she looks to him.
I don't know if it was an immediate attraction, but it was an immediate curiosity anyway.
Yeah. It could have been curiosity, But he decides to take her back to the camp.
Yeah.
And he's trying to communicate. She needs help. And he's confronted by Wind in His Hair, played by Rodney Greene. And this Indian just grabs Mary McDonnell and just drags her off the horse.
Yeah.
And just drags her up the mud. And I'm sat there, and obviously 21st century medicine and things like that. And I'm like, I don't know if he's just dislocated her shoulder. She's got intense bleeding. So why drag her on the floor?
And eventually Dunbar comes back to his fort. And it's not long after before the Native American Sioux tribe turns up at Fort Sedgwick.
Yeah.
And this is where we start to begin the dialogue back and forth. And you have that crazy moment where Dunbar's trying to simulate the buffalo. And he's
Tatanka.
Tatanka. Yeah.
Tatanka.
Tatanka.
Here.
Tatanka.
Tatanka. Tatanka.
Tatanka. Buffalo.
Oh.
Buffalo.
Tatanka.
Buffalo.
And so those are amazing moments where they both exchange their first word.
Yes.
And it's buffalo, essentially.
Yeah. I love the coffee sequence.
Yes, the coffee sequence. Now, again, we're going to talk about the historical inaccuracies. I'm going to bring them up, the ones that I do know of.
Yeah.
That the fact that this Sioux tribe has never seen coffee before or sugar before is ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's absolutely ridiculous. What it does for you as watching this film is just go, wow, this tribe is so secluded, they don't know anything about all of these luxuries that we have, whereas a matter of fact they would have and would have been trading them.
Yeah.
The film does it again later on when they discover guns for the first time. They would have known guns for years and years and years, decades.
Yeah.
They would have known guns and
But for
used
the
guns themselves in their raids.
But for the concept of the story, allowing
it makes them look
Dunbar
like
to be the hero.
it makes them look like a simple people.
Yeah.
When as a matter of fact, the history is they're not so simple. Like when he gives him the telescope.
Yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
You know, they would have had those. They would have seen those.
Well, we know for a fact. I mean, Native Americans were dealing with fucking conquistadors since
Yes.
the moment Columbus fucking landed.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
so they're seeped in history, and they are well aware of these things. But yeah, for the film's purpose, it does actually help the narrative, and it helps
was gonna say,
bond these characters really well.
we are talking about Native American history, which was pretty much destroyed by people going over there and fucking, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're just barbarians and savages.
It was a case of, no, this is our territory. You're on it, so you're hostile. Get
Yeah.
off, and that is still going on today.
Yeah.
Today.
Let's not go too far into racism, shall we? No. Yeah. But Dunbar and Kicking Bird are starting to communicate a little bit better, but there are still problems, and so they convince Stands with Fists, Mary McDonnell's character, to communicate for them. And I love those little bits. Just the three of them walking around, you know, where Mary McDonnell, she just keeps looking off into the sky. And I'm thinking, what's she doing? And she's trying to imagine what the word is.
Or remember.
Or remember what the word is, you know, because Kicking Bird is saying one word for night, you know, and then trying to explain it to Kevin Costner. It's very easy to say the word night, but it doesn't translate so well. And I just love those little moments, because in my mind I'm thinking, oh, they're on set. You know, they know what the next line is. But they so easily look at each other trying to communicate. Like, I have no idea what he's talking about. What's he talking about? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's a great moment. It is really good. The first lines of dialogue, the communications between each other, bonding them together.
Yeah.
And that is the next pretty much hour of the film, is the bonding experience, is watching Dunbar shed away the army man in
Yes.
him.
Yeah.
Watching him shed away John Dunbar and watching him become Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful transition. Just the repeated visits back where the natives come to the camp, to the fort, and then when John goes to them.
Yeah, because after a while he starts to get lonely going
Yes.
back to the camp. He
He's
doesn't
like-
want to be there anymore. He
Yeah.
wants to head back to the Indians.
Yeah.
And you know, it warms your heart, because, you know, we live in a world where it's very easy to hate on somebody because somebody tells you to hate on them, you know. But until you're face to face with them, talking to them, understand them, you realize how much you have in common. You know, I'm sat there and I'm looking at Dunbar. He just wants to live this life of seclusion, solitude, get away from war. Very much like these Indian people. They don't want to war every day. They just want to live with nature and eat what they can, and, you know, they and survive on. But then at the same time, white man comes along and starts making real big fucking mess. That starts to, you know, affect everybody on the plains.
Yeah. One of the most epic moments in the film that actually brings John Dunbar and the Sioux tribe together is the fact that John wakes up in the middle of the night, and it looks like the film presents it like a fever dream.
Yeah,
where he
yeah.
hears the buffalo stampeding, and he rushes over to the tribe and tells them, the buffalo, they're passed by, follow me.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, they beat him up at first until he manages to say, Tatanka, Tatanka.
Tatanka, yeah.
And they send off the huntsman, they pick up the trail, and you have that glorious matte painting of the devastation of the buffalo that have left behind them.
Yeah, see, again, like I said, you know, we talk about man devastating nature and stuff like that. Look what those fucking buffalo did.
Well, that's nature.
Oh yeah, that's all right. Yeah, it's nature. Yeah.
Well, then look at what the white man did.
Yeah.
Because they catch up to the buffalo, and it
Fucking
is a
hell.
field of skinned corpses.
What a
again,
waste of meat.
just to point out the history at this point.
Yeah.
Is that at this point in time, the buffalo would have been hunted just for their meat.
Right. Yeah. Not for
It's
the skins
only
as well.
much later were they hunted for their skins and their tongues. But then the film does highlight the fact that these Native Americans are also hostile, and the fact that they find some of these white men and butcher them and scalp them.
Yes.
And, you know, we watch Dunbar having to deal with the aftermath of that, and he's kind of trying to process it himself.
I really loved that part, because, like I said, the film does a way of saying, look, these are the Sioux. They're really peaceful, and these are the Pawnees, and these are really aggressive. And yet we don't know who those guys were on that wagon, but we're watching hands being hung from the tree, you know, and the guys are all whooping around the fire, and Dunbar is just, he's secluded again like he was at the beginning of the film, because, you know, how are they any different to what he is? You know, they're just killing and taking the land because, oh, this is our land. Who the fuck says? There's nothing written in the mud that says this is white man land or Indian land. You just happen to live there. You're renting it at this point. You don't have to kill your neighbors just because, well, maybe they had guns, maybe they killed an Indian. We're not told that. But the buffalo hunt sequence was fucking amazing. I mean, I had to look it up, the fact that they actually went to a buffalo ranch. You know, because when I was growing up, buffaloes, we were always hearing about how they're going extinct. We're always hearing about how animals are going extinct. And the buffalo, back in the day, you know, people were just riding trains and shooting them while they're fucking out in the field. Not stopping or taking the body, just shooting them and just letting them rot. And obviously after a while, people were like, look, if we carry on doing this, they're going to go extinct. So we're going to take care of them. We're going to raise them. We're going to make more herds. And it was at one of these herd ranches that Kevin Costner and his crew went there to film the hunt sequence.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you said it to me today, some of the buffaloes that they killed were animatronic.
That's right, yeah. So that they could have the spears thrown at them and they could fall and roll and...
Wow, they were so well done.
Yes.
I thought that they were real. I thought they just went, yeah, you can kill that one. He's a bit
It's a
fluey.
technical marvel, and one of the reasons why the film went over budget was because in order to film the stampede sequence and the buffalo charging, once the buffalo start running, you can't get them to stop, turn around, come back and do it again while we get the camera set up. They had to do one take that day, that's it.
Yeah.
You've now got to wait until tomorrow to get the buffalo all the way back around and get ready to do that the next shot. And it took them days and days and days and days of trying to film this sequence and getting the Native Americans on horseback throwing spears and firing arrows.
Oh, yeah.
Having the animatronic buffalo fall down, breathtaking music, cinematography, editing. It is just, it's a perfect sequence.
Yeah,
It really is.
Absolutely amazing. And this fully cements Dunbar as one of the tribe.
Well, he now gets a chance where he now becomes the hero to the Sioux tribe when he saves, is it Smiles?
Yeah, I think he saves the
It
young
Smiles a
huntsman,
lot,
doesn't he?
I think.
Yeah.
I think he was caught, and he saves him from a charging buffalo. And so he's then forced to eat the liver or the heart.
I think it was the heart, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and then he's taken back, and they're all celebrating and drinking, and they're like, "Come back and tell the story again and again."
Yeah.
And he's there telling everyone how it was a big buffalo, and there's other ones going,
It's a little buffalo.
little buffalo.
And it just elevates all the other characters. You know, Kicking Bird. You're hearing so much about Kicking Bird that it's like him and Dunbar are best buddies. Winds in Hair. When we first met him, he was a serious looking motherfucker, and now he's there and he's just hugging Dunbar and they're best of friends. Love the jacket moment.
Yes.
Fucking loved the jacket moment. But I loved even more the hat trading moment after.
Knife.
Yeah.
Good trade.
Good trade. It just, you were like, especially the guy with the hat. It was like he didn't care. He was just taking it. But because Winds and Hair is backing up Dunbar.
Well, this is what I like, is that the film illustrates to you that all the Sioux are not all the same mentality. They're just like in every society.
Yeah.
There are individuals that have different views from the group.
Yeah.
And so, it shows the diversity of the characters and that they're not all the same. And that highlights that very well. So after the hunt with the buffalo, we have the intermission.
When was the last time you saw a film with an intermission in? Monty Python?
Yeah.
The Holy Grail?
Yeah.
But he's back at the fort, and he wants to get back to the Indians. He wants to learn more from them. He wants to understand more, because I think at this point he knew all he could in his life in the army, and now he was learning something new, which was bringing him back to life. You know, giving him this second wind on life, where before he was happy just to watch the days go by and just sit there and kick back.
So he decides that he's just going to pack his things and just go.
Yeah.
And
He gets given his own little wigwam. Are they called wigwams now, or tents?
teepees.
Teepees, yeah, wigwams and teepees. They send off a war party to deal with some Pawnees. Now, we don't know what the Pawnees are doing at this point. You know, are these Sioux attacking a hunting tribe? Are they attacking, you know, an actual group who are encroaching on their land? We don't know, but it's at this point I'm like, it reminded me, and it will remind me more when the Pawnee turn up, the battle sequence from the beginning.
Yes, yeah.
You know, because while the war party are away, a group of hunters say that there's a group of Pawnee hunters coming to their tribe, you know, and they need protection. And Dunbar had been told by Kicking Bird to stay at the camp to look after his family because it's a great honor. So Dunbar takes it upon himself. But with 40 huntsmen coming, he cannot stand. He's only got pretty much women and children standing around. So he goes and excavates the guns from Fort Sedgwick and brings it back to the camp and pretty much arms everybody. And like I said, it just reminded me of the battle sequence at the beginning where you have these two types of people who look exactly the same but are just dressed differently with two different views on the world, attacking and killing each other for advancement, to survive another day.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
the world that we live in. But the Pawnee get fucking owned.
Yeah, annihilated. Yeah, they're running in there with bows and spears and getting blasted by rifles and guns.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not long before it's only Wes Studi who's left, and he's war crying and screaming as he's slowly getting encircled by.
Yeah, I thought they'd at least maybe take him hostage or let him go, but no, 20 of them blast him
with guns simultaneously. Yeah, that's dealt with.
Yeah, he's done. But Dunbar is now, you know, he's when the Sioux war party comes back, they're like, he's the fucking hero now. You are definitely one of the warriors. You've saved our families. You've taken care of us. You know, it's all great. And he's been getting closer to Stands with Fist. They had a little moment where she is teaching them how to speak Sioux, and he's asking her what beautiful is because obviously he wants to get it on with her. And I love that little bit where you got the camera looking on the river, and Mary McDonnell's head pops up, and Kevin Costner's head pops up, and the two of them stand up like nobody noticed, and he's trying to put his belt back on. And I'm like, you two did the nasty. Ew.
Well, yeah, they try and keep it a secret from the rest of the tribe because she's not really allowed to be seeing anyone because her adopted father, which is Kicking Bird, has told her you're in mourning.
Yeah,
which means while you are grieving for your late husband, you shouldn't have affairs with any other man until I say so. And it seems like everyone else in the tribe has gone, yeah, those two are getting together, that's fine. And everybody knows, except Kicking Bird.
Yeah, it's his wife who's got to tell him, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. And when he's told, he immediately then tells Stands with Fist, you're no longer grieving. And he sort of temporarily exiles himself for not being aware of things going on in his own family. And I thought that was good.
I love the relationship between Kicking Bird and his wife.
Yes,
they were like a real couple.
Yeah.
You know, they were like a real proper couple in this 18th, 19th century fucking Indian tribe. You know, he's a strong religious warrior, but she's his backbone.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and in a way, when she tells him to do something, even though he's got to listen to his chief, he's going to listen to his wife first. And I'm like, that's brilliant. And I love all the gifts. You know, all the gifts have got people start putting all the gifts at Kicking Bird's teepee. The gifts have to be all gone by the next morning or Kicking Bird is not happy. And so Dunbar spends all night just awake and then opens up his door in the morning and sees all the gifts are gone. And you feel a slight of relief. Like, yay, they can get together now. And you have, I think, it goes to the marriage sequence now, doesn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And I gotta admit, Stands with Fist looks fucking hot in that white fucking wedding gown thing. I was just like, damn, Laura Roslin, damn. One of the biggest points as well is Kickenbird constantly questioning Dunbar about how many white men are coming.
Yeah, and John has kind of avoided the question from the beginning, or not really let him know that the amount of white people coming is unstoppable.
Yeah, it's literally gonna lay waste to the land. You know, it's gonna pretty much destroy the tribes. You know, we see Dunbar and Kickenbird walking through that abandoned camp. You know, and there's just deers that have just been shot, not for skin or anything, just shot for fun. There's empty. I can only imagine their whiskey bottles just fucking strewn on the ground and stuff's just been. It's first time littering, I suppose. You know, it takes me back to when Timmons dropped that can.
Yeah, the tin. It was just kicked by the horse.
It just drops on the field.
So it begins.
You know, it always makes me think of that. Was it that Indian from Wayne's World who sheds the tear? You know, after Wayne's stock. It always takes me back to that. But you know, Kickenbird is wanting to know if there's an alternative, if they can avoid this, can they stop it? And Dunbar's just like, no.
It's inevitable. And
it's when they see the chief, and the chief pulls out a conquistador helmet, which I'm assuming that the chief must have been holding on since he was a kid, you know, maybe it's been handed down from generation to generation. And he says to them, look, it's inevitable. They are coming. They've always
been coming.
They've always been coming, and there's nothing we can do apart from either adapt or get out of the way or be destroyed, basically.
Yeah, and so John, who has now been known as Dances with Wolves, says that he needs to go and get his journal so that the whites don't find it and then read about where the Sioux are and where they're going to.
Because this journal Dunbar has kept since he got to Fort Sedgwick, it holds all the information, especially the locations of the tribes, which you know, you don't want falling into enemy hands. But when he gets back to Sedgwick, the army have finally turned up, and there are only two characters in this film that I really fucking hate: Bowers and Spivey. I like pretty much any character in the film. I even like Wed Study's fucking toughest Pawnee character, because I understand that, you know, he's not doing it because he's a violent, aggressive bastard. He's having to do it because this is, you know, it's part of his way of life. But when Dunbar gets back to the camp, fucking Cisco is shot
multiple times.
And Dunbar gets knocked out. But he tells them that all the information that they need to know is in his journal. And there's this little fucking asshole called Spivey who turned up early and stole the fucking journal.
And he's using it to wipe his ass.
I was just like, fucking... You want him dead. You also want fucking Bowers dead. He's this big, hulking, thug-like motherfucker who just takes one look at Dunbar and sees the Indian clothes and goes, well, you're just a traitor, aren't you? I'm going to fucking keep beating on you. Those are the only two characters I hate in this film. Mainly because they're not doing it because of political reasons or you know, for survive. They're doing it out of their own selfish needs. One's a thief and the other one's a thug.
And their own fear of the natives.
Yeah. But what fear? They stand 50 meters back with guns shooting at Two Socks. And we watch Two Socks die.
That's it, I got him! Dead shot, boys, come on! Son of a bitch! Bobby! Get up!
Cisco and Two Socks, man.
Yeah. Double whammy. And now Dunbar's being taken off to be executed.
But luckily, Kickenbird and Winds and Hare have devised this idea to rescue Dunbar. You know, he is now part of the tribe. They need to rescue him. And they need to also do it for Stands with Fist, because, you know, she's going to be mourning again soon. So let's fucking deal with it. And that whole attack, when you see them walking through that river, it's like ambush.
Yeah, yeah.
This is an ambush
See,
point.
I liked the new lieutenant that turned up at the camp.
Yeah.
He seemed like a decent guy. He was like, make sure our prisoners looked after, clean him up, stop beating him.
Was he the guy from the fort at the beginning who saw the major die?
I think maybe.
I mean,
I'm
the
not
film
sure.
was the film was so long. I
I
couldn't remember.
just remember he seemed decent.
Yeah.
and it's kind of ironic then that he would be the first one to take an arrow.
But that's
during
yeah.
the ambush.
Yeah.
It's like,
But he's also the one who doesn't get scalped.
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, he says not that one.
That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody gets fucking taken out. Bowers gets an axe to the chest, which is awesome. Fucking Dunbar strangles Spivey and fucking sticks his head underwater until he drowns. And you know the Indians are going to scalp people. It's their way, I suppose. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to say. I'm going to justify it either. But it's the way Dunbar says, yeah, no, not him. And Winds and Hare hands him the knife and says, well, you do it. And Dunbar's just like, no. Because without actually saying it, Dunbar's just like, that guy tried to help me. He's dead. So just leave him. But at the same time, Dunbar knows, because of the death of all those men and the fact he hasn't turned up to the fort for the execution, more soldiers are going to come. And he's putting the whole tribe at risk staying there. And so he decides that he's going to leave. And everybody's really pissed off and upset by it because they don't want him to go. And it's like the chief says to him, he says, you're not the guy they're looking for anymore. That guy is long dead. Your Dances with Wolves, a Sioux warrior. But I can't stop you. I know you're going to do what you want to do. And so it kind of starts building up to just this nice little ending where Dunbar and Stands with Fist are ready to go. Stands with Fist is upset to leave as well, but she's already said, my place is by your side.
Yeah.
So she
yeah.
will leave with him. Kicking Bird obviously doesn't want him to go. I almost fucking wept like a baby when they traded pipes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I just the desperation of Kicking Bird trying to find this gift
Yeah.
to give him, and he's getting angry that he can't find it. I was just like, oh, it's...
Yeah. How does the pipe smoke? You know, and it's just like, oh, I haven't smoked out of it. And it's like, oh, I guess this try the first smoke, so it could actually be really terrible. You know? And it's like Winds in Her as well. He's just on top of the cliff, just fucking
screaming that you are my best friend.
Yeah.
Because he has a conversation with Dunbar earlier on where he's just like, my best friend was Stands with Fist's husband. You are not my best friend. But at the end of the film, when he's there screaming, Dances with Wolves, my best friend,
Yeah.
just like, oh,
it's so nice.
it's good.
And you're getting all worried as well because the army's turning. The army's
the
coming.
army's right behind him.
And they've got Indian trackers to help them find this tribe. And you see them come across the hill and you look down and the tribe's gone.
Yeah, one of the most amazing features about the Sioux Indian tribes is that they could mobilize. If they
Yeah.
needed to go, they pack their houses, inventory, everything, and they're gone.
Yeah,
So
in no
quick.
time.
Yeah, yeah. And so they get away. And that's when the final film scroll sort of pops up, and it lets you know that 13 years later,
Yeah, the
it was all over.
The Indians just handed themselves into the last white camp, and that was it. They started making casinos.
So, favourite scenes from Dances with Wolves, Iain?
My first favourite scene was the scene where where Dunbar wakes up at Fort Sedgwick, and you see the shadow cross across his face, and you're thinking, "Oh shit, what's that? Is that the Indians coming? Is somebody come? Is he go-" And then he wakes up, and it's Cisco, and he's just like, "Bad horse," and goes back to sleep. The first sighting of the wolf just sat there. I mean, that wolf was well fucking trained.
Well, there was two wolves that played two socks in the film.
Yeah, and it's the fact that Dunbar's ready to shoot him, but then seeing that the wolf isn't actually making any rush and it's just kind of sitting there, he just holds the gun back, and they just build up this beautiful friendship over the course of the movie. It's two socks, Cisco, you know, don't talk about what happens to them, okay? Meeting Kicking Bird, you know, the first time he meets him when he's naked, or like the subsequent meetings after that where they're drinking coffee together and they're talking. It's just, it's really just nice. The fact that these two great actors who are playing the fact that they cannot communicate to each other are playing it so well that you want them just to start hugging and high-fiving, but you've got to go for like an hour for them to understand it. Not just because Kicking Bird doesn't understand English, but because Dunbar doesn't understand Sue either. You know, you've got to bridge that gap over time. Dunbar and Stands with Fist appearing from the grass after doing the nasty. You know, it's just so funny. Just the way their heads just kind of appear from the grass. You know, they're like, nobody saw us, did they? Nobody saw us. I'm like, half the tribe have been watching over that hill. You would have never have known. And Spivey and Bauer getting killed. Like I said, they're the two biggest fucking assholes in the film, and I was so glad that they got their comeuppance.
Yeah.
The epic scale, I loved the whole backdrops, the riding across the plains. People just fucking sitting there on horses. I mean, that one point between Kicking Bird and Dunbar when they're just looking out onto the river with the mountains, you know, and it's
beautiful. Absolutely
it's fucking
stunning, yeah.
Yeah, the cinematographer is just top notch.
It's really difficult for me to pull a favourite scene from a film that has been a favourite film for so long.
Yeah.
The whole film from start to finish, it's almost perfect for me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't highlight one scene.
Is it the historical accuracies that make it
the horror,
one less?
The historical
perfect for you?
inaccuracies don't blemish this film at all.
Right.
I kind of like the fact that this film brought history to life.
Yeah.
Very much so for me, and that my interest in this time period as well has spawned me to look up the actual truths about what was going on and what's still happening now today to the Sioux Native Americans that are still being oppressed by American governments. But that is something else.
Stupid white man.
Absolutely, no questions asked. Recommend Dances with Wolves. Now, it might not be for everybody because it's epic.
It's fucking
epic. 3 or 4 hours long.
Yeah.
It does have an intermission. Watch the whole thing in one go. Save it for a sick day like I do. Only sick days. At the same time, it's a spectacle.
Yeah.
It truly is. Now, not everyone is going to like it. You might be in the field of watching. For you, it might be Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
You know? For me, it's Dances with Wolves. The awesome insight into the Native American history, it captures your imagination. The film is exciting. It's well shot. It's beautifully scored. One of the best film soundtracks.
Yes. Yeah, I'll give you that.
And the film is so well deserved of all of its praise, and it still is, and it still holds up.
Yeah.
This film is, for me, a near masterpiece. Absolutely love it. Can't recommend it enough.
I definitely recommend Dances with Wolves as well. Just like Gary, it's not going to be for everybody. So if you're the type of person who says, you know, I'm not going to watch this film, don't hit the comment section and give me shit that you're not going to watch the film. Don't fucking watch it. But I will tell you this, if you are that type of person, you are missing out. There are a hell of a lot worse films to watch than Dances with Wolves. I've only ever watched this film twice. This is the second time I've watched it.
There's 2 other films that sort of spring to mind.
Right, yeah.
You got The Last Samurai, which is the same, which is a white man going into a samurai camp.
Yeah.
And most recently, Avatar.
Yeah. I said that. I posted on Facebook about how much I saw Avatar in Dances with Wolves. But, you know, both those films you said, I put them separately. You know, for Avatar, it's a sci-fi movie. You know, for fucking Last Samurai, it's a Japanese samurai movie.
The thing is, that story type works.
Oh yeah,
the different cultures learning about each other.
The story type is one thing. The film itself is a whole nother. Like we said at the beginning of this review, Kevin Costner directed this. If Tom Cruise fucking directed Last Samurai, it would be kind of up there with Dances with Wolves, but he didn't. Kevin Costner produced, directed, acted in Dances with Wolves. The practical effects in this movie blew me away, made me kind of want to fucking cry that we don't do that anymore, but at the same time made me kind of happy because, well, that's how we advance. And weirdly enough, it's the same with this film. If white man hadn't gone over and done all of this fucking shit to North America and taken the land from them, we wouldn't have this film. Kevin Costner probably would never have been born. So times times have to change, things have to change, but it's always nice, like you said, with like Lawrence of Arabia, it's always nice to go back and watch a classic. Yes, you do have to set 4 hours aside before you do it, but, well, you could either be watching Dance with Wolves and playing, or playing Fortnite. I know which one I'd like to do.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.